Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Rick and Morty Rickternal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort. And I thought this episode was okay. I didn't really hate it. I liked that we delved into Rick's relationship with Bird Person. It just almost got a little bit too meta for me of how they were going through like all these kind of references, and I'm just like, okay, a little bit goes a long way in trying to do like meta shit. So this one was a little bit more jam packed with those kind of things than I was okay with. So we start off and we see that Rick is pretty much being left at home. The rest of the family are going on a cruise, and Rick's like, just leave. The odds of me going Pickle Rick just like start skyrocketing. All right, whatever. So they leave, and he then starts talking with his kind of computer assistant, and of course tries to come in and help reform Bird Person. There's some jokes about like how the protocol was unnamed and the AI was decided to name it and all that, but he is going to insert himself into Bird Person's mind because he has hidden his mind from himself and it's like subconscious. So he does all this kind of stuff, makes this kind of crystal thing. Pretty much we're trying to see if the AI will try and make sure that it lives if Rick kind of dies. He's pretty much put this in, hey, I either gave you a really long battery or a really short one, 50-50 shot, so you either bring me out or you don't. So he dives into Bird Person's subconscious, and things are pretty much kind of wacky in there, and he's pretty much trying to deal with everything that's kind of like been going on between them as a friendship. And Bird Person's like, screw off, man, and he just keeps going deeper and deeper into his like own subconscious. Rick eventually runs into his younger version of himself, and that's pretty much the kind of buddy system that we see throughout the episode, even though Rick is like, I really don't want to deal with you, man, because at first he pretty much locks him in something, and they had been talking about some battle at like Blood Ridge. And the thing is, I actually kind of really liked that part when we got into that memory, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting because it showcased evidently a pivotal battle between this rebel faction that Rick and Bird Person were part of versus, of course, the Federation thing going on. And it's like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. But, of course, Rick's younger self keeps, like, banging on, and of course we get, like, them pretty much hating each other, him pretty much thinking of him as a stupid-ass hipster in his younger phase in his 30s, and him just thinking of him as a cynical asshole. We do get the important bit that, in relation to their timeline of events, Beth did die in some version, and Rick has been, like, going through different other kind of realities and wound up living there. So it's like, okay, that's interesting. That was a pretty kind of big thing, so I liked that kind of part. I went, alright, but it's kind of like a blink it and you'll miss it kind of thing as things are kind of happening and going on. But they team up together and utilize all this kind of stuff. It's really interesting because this is like Bird Person's memory of Rick, so he's smarter and his stuff doesn't work as well. So like he tried to use a portal gun to like go through because he was having an existential crisis with, of course, the older Rick there, and he couldn't use it because Bird Person doesn't know where he goes when he does the whole portaling thing. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of cool that they play with those kind of rules and actually kind of like set up some stuff in here as they actually utilize that, where younger Rick pulls up a portal to kind of shield themselves from like attacking things, and old Rick kind of like uses it as a kind of bomb to get him out of a sticky situation that they were using the shield for. But they keep going through kind of Bird Person's all different kind of memories, seeing him on his like home world, seeing at first being at the first kind of part where Rick and Bird Person met up at this kind of like weird kind of Woodstock kind of thing, and he had these kind of drugs and whatnot, and he shared them with them, and that's kind of how that worked out. That's important later because that's their escape route out. So he just kind of like starts fiddling around, kind of finding all the different kind of stuff. We see him trying to pretty much take himself out to a degree, because we get to a point where stuff is segmented, because we'd see he was happy with Tammy, and then of course we get crazy Tammy's kind of fighting him and everything like that. And we see that like one goes one way and one goes the other, and of course we see that Bird person is like, screw you, man, fuck you, man, and tries to like blow up some stuff. But we see that they also get the information that Bird person has a daughter, has a kid, and it's like, oh, okay, and that's important to Rick because he gets to a point where like pretty much his consciousness is kind of like melting down and everything and destroying itself, but he's happy with Tammy and he wants to kind of go out that way. But then, of course, since Rick's trapped in his consciousness, he'd die that way. So he's like, hey, listen, you got a kid. He's like, all right, fine, I'll do that to live. And they go through and they kind of do a Morty's Mind Benders kind of thing where they use Rick's memories of certain events to kind of leapfrog their way, lily pad their way to the exit. And they're able to get through and all that. And it's like, all right, we get that. Like, oh, dude, did they get through? And yeah, they did. And while this is going on, we get a little kind of subplot with the AI trying to ensure its own survival, where it like opens up the garage and calls a dude over. It's like, oh yeah, you're like Jarvis and Iron Man. It's like, yes. Are you a fan of Marvel? And it's just, I don't mind making fun of Marvel and all that kind of stuff, but it's just like, okay, is that all you're going for? I mean, I could see, like, if you're going to make fun of it, it'd really be cool to just, like, go full force like they were doing. I don't mind that. It's just, all right, okay, he's a Marvel fan and you're an AI. All right, is that it? I don't know. It's, I either would like them to go full hog on a certain thing or, like, do at least something invented to make it worthwhile rather than just, okay, here's this thing here. But Bird Person and Rick come out. Of course, Bird Person is calling him out because he pretty much used the kid information to kind of like get him out. The thing is, we'd also gotten inside his head that the Blood Ridge part, they won, and of course, younger Rick thought that they had lost or whatnot. I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty awesome. But he's like, hey, yeah, I really like you, and the thing is, Rick was pretty much doing it because he loves Bird Person. And Bird Person's like, nah, I'm kind of cool, because he's like, hey, nothing matters, but I want you to come and have adventures with me. And he's like, nah, man. And we see that that could potentially be setting that up, as that's one of the pivotal things that has Rick the way he is. He always wants that kind of connection and that adventures kind of thing with someone, but he's been rejected, and he takes that personally, I think, and always kind of tries to bring someone just close enough, but just far enough away to not hurt him. That's at least how I'm interpreting it, and what that could potentially mean, I could be off base, but that's at least what I was thinking they were going for with that. And that kind of set up their kind of more contentious aspects of their relationships. And the thing is, Bird Person's like, all right, fine, I'm going to go find my kid. He's like, all right, cool. Young Rick has survived and is like hiding itself in his like adolescent kind of memories, which is kind of weird, but I'm like, all right, cool. And that's about where the episode really ends. And then we, of course, get the stinger at the end that we see that Bird Person and Tammy's daughter is in prison. Well, I think it's a daughter. It really looked a lot like Tammy. And just starts like going ham and fucking killing some people because they were messing with her ass. And the guards are pretty much observing the fact that it's really kind of stupid to put all the violent inmates together. And it's like, yep. And it's really kind of stupid to put a kid in a prison like that. But that's just me. So overall, I liked the concept and idea of this episode. I just think it could have been executed a little bit better. Not saying that it was the worst. This one I had more kind of neutral feelings on rather than the last couple ones, because it didn't escalate itself into outright complete insanity and just craziness where it's almost running away from itself. Where it's like, ah shit, ah shit, ah shit. Okay, think of my problems with the escalation of, like, they get to a certain point where they're doing like that cheese wheel run where you're running down that hill and it just gets completely fucking away from you. You slip on your ass and you're tumbling fucking every which way and you're like, I don't understand what's going on anymore. And you're just like, yep, This episode really didn't have that. It was more cleaner, more focused, and that's definitely the positives that I would like to say on this, because it had a story, it stuck with it, and it went through it. I just would have liked it to be executed a little bit better, and maybe didn't get that meta of like Rick kind of like meching with himself and everything, and just like always referencing all the kind of stuff that they did. It's like, okay, I can get a couple references, but they kind of overloaded it a little bit for my tastes. So I know that they are going to be doing the kind of like final episodes in like a 2 hour kind of finale, I think. So it's going to be like on a break for a little bit and before coming back. So we'll kind of have to see how that works out. I know those are supposed to be kind of like 2 episodes or so we'll see kind of how that works. I am interested to see how they'll end this season, but so far this is not shaping up to be my favorite season of Rick and Morty, though there are some things and aspects that I like especially diving into Rick and Bird Person's relationship and what's going on with like Beth. It's like, okay, the whole dead Beth thing, I was like, alright, that's kind of an interesting thing that we've learned. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.